So for this flick, this is where one one of the stars won an Academy Award for Best Performance and also a Razzie for Worst Performance. We're not even talking about Carlos himself. We're actually talking about Michael Douglas winning the best one and Daryl Hannah. Daryl is apparently a gender-neutral name, receiving the worst. Sensationally entertaining, a suave, knowing picture. In this riveting behind-the-scenes look at big business in the 1980s, an ambitious young broker, Charlie Sheen, is lured into the illegal, lucrative world of corporate espionage, where he is seduced by the power, status, and financial wizardry of Wall Street legend Gordon Iguana Gecko. Michael Douglas in his Oscar-winning performance, but he soon discovers that the pursuit of overnight riches comes at a price that's too high to pay. Daryl Hannah and Martin Sheen co-star in Oliver Stone's gripping morality tale about American Dream Gone Wrong, 126 minutes, 1987. Oliver Stone. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much in about him, but this movie is freaking great. So, it's interesting to see all the various roles that Sheen has tackled, and this one's really does show. It's like he plays the naive, early 20-something account executive or salesman, as his father, who's also his on-screen father, says. So we get to see the more seedier side of Wall Street going on. We also get to see the character's evolution. We get to see how manipulation happens. We get to see how greed can be really good, and what one does to train future proteges, if you will, and to also unknowingly manipulate them into acquiring stuff. So, Martin Sheen works for Blue Star Airlines, and they're laying staff off and everything, and Bud Fox, yes, that is his name, thinks that he can help save his company. So when he starts to learn about getting some insider information and not necessarily exposing, but espousing, there's a word, espionage. No, but just saying, hey, I'm here to learn some information, and I want to be able to help the company. So he starts raking in the millions. He starts to develop a name for himself, all the meanwhile having quite the amazing hair. I don't know, the hair just stood out for me. But this is when Michael Douglas comes in. He is suave. He is a fast talker. He's able to blend economic talk really well, rapid fire delivery, and to be able to he's able to convince people, and at the same time make them feel not necessarily inferior, but to prove that he's the one who's in charge, So when he has a 5-minute dialogue and also another the greed is good speech about roughly, I don't know, 90 minutes in, you can tell it's the power that's going on coming from this mother effer. Let's just put it this way. When he's able to talk about it's 2 months, we still don't know what these vice presidents are, and he says, saying, hey, these vice presidents, they don't know, there's 72 of them. It's like the average taxpayer goes towards paying for these vice presidents roles. Lo and behold, there's a lot of them. So you can tell, obviously, he talks about the diversification of funds that go supports paying them. I mean, it's a legendary scene. He does not stop. He's moving around, he's talking. I think it's done just maybe only 1 or 2 jump cuts during this legendary 4-minute scene. I mean, it's at the same time showing that, exposing the corruption seediness going on, that, yeah, even though he is a bastard, you have to give him credit for really pointing out the absolute awfulness that is going on. And to be able to say, hey, he's still making stuff happen. You have to give him points for honesty. I will say that. And also in the beginning, when Sheen and when Bud and Gordon meet up, they do talk about they say, hey, you have 5 minutes exactly. So what happens is you get an exact 5-minute diatribe conversation of like, hey, tell me something, like saying, hey, you don't have to supply me with info. You have to find me new information. You have to find the trace elements, I guess is the best way to describe saying, hey, um, that's how you gain leverage. That's how you like gain momentum. So we get some of the intense understanding more of how Wall Street works. And yes, they do feature Wall Street. They play with the stocks. We get to see the 1980s computers as they start calculating everything and when to buy. So, and also the manipulation that goes on of when Bud tells some of his coworkers and everything else to buy this stock. Lo and behold, he starts gaining the advantage, which I'm like, oh yes, that is really good. So it's all the chaos. It's everything that just goes on so well. But of course, eventually Gordon Gekko manages to lizard his way in and buy Blue Star stock. So it's not exactly like a happy ending. I mean, it's ending, but also showing the morality and the ambiguity that goes on in the economics world. And oof, yeah, Daryl Hannah's, yeah, I didn't really feel much. I mean, yeah, she explains like saying, hey, out buying all the paintings for like millions of dollars, though. I don't know. Is she really that bad in this movie? She's great in Splash, but in this one, I don't know. It's not really. She deserved like a Razzie. Yeah, honestly, Oliver Stone knows what he's doing. When he talked to like a bunch of people on Wall Street and economists and like salespeople and stuff like that to create a truly tight, wonderful picture that, again, we get to see their personal lives, which works so dang good because, we get to see them off the street and more into like the personal lives and understanding like the dichotomy between the father at the airport and also the rich lives that they went. I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good stuff. So yeah, ultimately, intelligent film. There's also a sequel I may get to that touches upon how cuckoo, corrupt, and everything else that goes on with Wall Street is. Give this one a watch. Must watch.